This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by CRE Launch Pro. This online commercial real estate program is designed to take you from beginner to pro commercial real estate investor with access to all of my courses, our online community, and monthly group coaching calls. Learn how to confidently buy your first commercial property today at www.crelaunchpro.com. Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast, live from the Cobble Group studios here in Nashville, Tennessee, back with another episode of Office Hours. This is the live stream that I do here on YouTube every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time to answer whatever questions you have around commercial real estate. If you're interested in getting started, or you have questions about financing your first project or how you should go about renovations, anything like that, feel free to jump in on this live stream, get some free one-on-one coaching with me, and we'll see what we can do for you. Today's going to be a bit of a different day. We're actually doing a giveaway in this live stream. So the rules for the giveaway, all you have to do is comment in the live chat. So this is only really going to apply to YouTube and Instagram because for whatever reason, those are the only live comments that I can actually see. So if you want to enter, just drop a question, leave a comment, do something in the live chat. Let's go through some of the prizes that we're giving away today, or that you could give away today. And I'll actually share the random selection wheel at the end of this episode, and we'll dive into it. But we're talking about a 30-minute one-on-one coaching call with me, access to my beginner's guide to commercial real estate investing course, an underwriting spreadsheet of your choice, 1 month of group coaching, a hard copy of my book, Open for Business, a membership to our commercial real estate Discord server, and something new that I haven't really even announced yet, but Tyler AI. We've been uploading all of the content that I have been working on over the 5+ years of commercial real estate to create just a little commercial real estate investing chatbot so that you can kind of talk to me or my AI 24/7. So that's what we've got on the docket for today. If you're interested in joining the giveaway, just drop a comment in the live stream. Looks like we're getting a few comments already. Oh, Chad, what's up, dude? Chad Markham, you stud. Just jumping in to say hey. Chad, hope you're doing well, man. We need to catch up soon. Max is saying you're the man. Eddie Brock, good morning. Good morning, guys. You're the man, Max. Edwin, what's up, Tyler? What's going on, Edwin? Appreciate you guys jumping in and hanging out. AM is saying good morning, everyone. All right, well, let's get into it today. So this afternoon, pay attention. We're going to be releasing another story of the deal. It's my favorite series here on YouTube, and it's on a project in Nashville that is honestly one of the coolest projects we've ever gotten to tour, not only because the building is amazing, but the story behind what is going on with that project is amazing. The Russell by Michael Walker over at Anchor Investments. It's a church, an historic church converted into a boutique hotel. Phenomenal project. We go into all of the details on it, from how he found it to how he funded it and how much money he's making every year and what he is doing with that money. So highly recommend checking that out, especially if you're interested in doing, something a little bit bigger than Airbnb, right? If you want to do a multi-unit boutique hotel, you can basically run it like an Airbnb, and that's what he's doing. That is the coolest part about it. So, pay attention for that. I think it'll be dropping today at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Just look for The Russell or Story of the Deal in the title. This past week has been really exciting for us. Y'all know that I've been working on my boutique hotel for the last 2 years, and it has been an absolute nightmare just trying to get permits. And we finally got the easement that we needed from the neighbor, which, we weren't told by Stormwater we needed until December. They've had the plans for a lot longer than that, I can promise you. And so we finally got that last week, which means that they're about to release our permits, which means that we are about to get back to work on the hotel. And I'm really excited for that because we are going to document every step along the way, every single moment of going through the development of that boutique hotel. And we're going to share it with you all. Probably going to release it in, maybe monthly episodes. And then at the end, we'll just compile everything up into one big episode and, have a little finale and an opening. And, hopefully I can host everybody here and we could have a wonderful grand opening. I would love to have a, bunch of friends here for that. So really excited for that. There's another thing that we had to deal with, which I thought was really interesting. So we fired our original contractor on Salt Ranch. And as is typical with these development projects, and this is something you may come across, so pay attention because you could get in trouble here. Typically, the contractor is going out and pulling the permits, right? Which means the permits are in their name. Even though it's your property, the permits are in the contractor's name. Well, we had to pay a lot of money for our permits. And when we fired the contractor, the way that Metro Nashville is set up, the only way for us to get our money back for the permits or for that permit to be moved over to another contractor without us having to pay for it again is if the contractor that we fired goes down to Metro, gets the refund for the permit, and then writes a check to us. Not a chance would a contractor who you fired off a job will ever do that. And I understand that it's there to protect the contractor, but we also have proof of funds that we paid the contractor that money for the permits, and we should be able to get it refunded to us. We had to get our attorney involved, and he's phenomenal. If you ever need a land use and planning attorney in Nashville, reach out to me. I've got the guy for you. But it's crazy that we had to go through that level of I don't know, work just to get our permit rolled over. It's kind of wild. Let's see. CP is saying stance on multi-unit quality office purchases, bullish on asset class or gloom and doom. CP, I actually like office space. I know that there's a lot of people that are so anti-office right now, but I'm a big believer that if you are willing to just stick to it and provide a good office space at an affordable rate, in the next 5 to 10 years, again, I know that that's a long time horizon, but if you're investing in commercial real estate, you should be investing on a longer time horizon anyway. If, in the next 5 to 10 years, think about it. A lot of these office buildings are going to get converted into something else, or they're going to get torn down, which means we're going to have, and there's almost going to be no new construction when it comes to office. There's going to be some, there's going to be that class AA, but there's not going to be a whole lot of office space. Does that sound familiar to any other asset class that we've been talking about ad nauseum on this channel? Flex space. Flex space over the last 10 years, nobody's been building it. All of those developers have been focused on distribution and warehousing facilities. It's too close to the core, so it's being torn down and redeveloped into something new. And there's still huge demand for it. Look, you can say whatever you want about office demand. It's always going to be there. I mean, I'm in a 28,000 square foot office building here in East Nashville. It is full. It is full. In fact, the only way that I was able to increase my NOI even further was by renting out some parking spaces, which we did. And we'll talk about that in a video. But it's like, man, I mean, these neighborhood offices are doing well. They're doing well. So I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're actually going to have a lack of office space in the market. So if you're willing to ride that storm, I think you're going to do really well in the long run. I mean, look at flex space, dude. I mean, seriously, 10 years ago, nobody cared about flex space. Nobody talked about it. It wasn't a cool, hip, it wasn't the girl that everybody wanted to dance with at the ball, right? Now it is. I mean, you hear about it everywhere. So it's awesome. I love it. Let's see. Jeff is saying, good morning, brother. Just dropped in to support and learned me something. Jeff, what's going on, man? You and I need to get on a call. My buddy Jeff is talking about starting a podcast for medical doctors investing in commercial real estate. So I think that would be a really good podcast. And you guys, if he ends up doing it, I'm going to tell you guys what it is so y'all can go support him. So, Jeff, good to see you, buddy. John is saying, I've only wholesaled 5 residential buildings. How hard would it be to wholesale commercial real estate? YouTube recommended you. Well, John, I'm glad to hear YouTube is putting in some work for me. I've been putting in some work for YouTube over the past 4 years, so that's awesome. Wow, we're actually coming up on my 4-year anniversary on YouTube. That's kind of wild. It's like literally next week or the week after. Okay, so it depends on what you're trying to do. Now, if you're going out and you're finding off-market commercial real estate deals and you're kind of taking them as a pocket listing and you're going around and pitching them to a very strong list of investors that you have, you could probably get paid a fee. It's similar to wholesaling, but what I don't typically recommend when you're wholesaling commercial real estate is like going out and putting it under contract. It's very different from residential real estate. Commercial real estate just takes a lot longer to close. There's so much more involved when it comes to due diligence. You've got to deal with financing about a bit more. You can't most people are not willing to close in cash. There's just too many risks, when it comes to environmental and things like that. But also, hard money, it just gets really, really expensive when you're talking about 7, 8, 9 figures of purchase price, right? So nobody really wants to spend that money. It's fine when you're buying a $200,000, $300,000 house to flip. You could do hard money. It's not that big of a deal. So in commercial real estate, typically what I recommend is going out, finding the deal, negotiating terms off market, maybe getting an LOI executed, and just being upfront with the seller. Of like, look, I'm not the buyer, but I'm going to go find you a buyer that fits these terms. And, I'll do everything I can to make you happy. So that's what I would recommend. Wholesaling commercial real estate is a very different beast. You're dealing with a totally different level of buyers and sellers and product, really. So hopefully that helps, John. Sunil is saying, good morning. Good morning. Nirmala is saying, such good content. I appreciate that. It's always fun to get to do these live streams. I love them. CP is saying, absolutely agree. Thanks for sharing your perspective. Absolutely. I mean, look, everybody loves to just, rag on office space right now. I don't think that office space really deserves it. I really don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm in this every day, and office space is doing just fine from what I'm saying. Now, I'm not in San Francisco, right? If I was in San Francisco, I'd probably have a very different opinion. But you've got to take everything that the news sources say with a grain of salt, because look at how big the United States of America is. Come on, Texas is like bigger than Germany, right? So just because something is struggling somewhere in the country doesn't mean that the entire country is seeing that. It doesn't mean that it's just that way generally across the board. Chase is saying, developing light industrial flex space versus buying existing, case by case, or what's your take? So Chase, it depends on your knowledge and experience and your skill level, to be honest with you. If you have never done anything before, I highly recommend just buying existing space. There is enough of a learning curve in commercial real estate with, owning and operating these deals that if you throw in the learning curve of also developing ground up on top of that, it's very, very difficult. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but there are, some steps that you'd probably want to take if that's the case, right? You probably want to JV with somebody that has been there and done that, and can financially support the deal and knows how to navigate civil engineering, architectural and design, permitting, dealing with contractors, bank draws, all the fun stuff, right? If you have done this before and you've bought a lot of existing, light industrial, and you know exactly how to operate and run these on a day-to-day basis, then I would say, yeah, if you want to increase your yield, developing is the way to go. Now, it's tougher these days than it was 2 or 3 years ago, just because construction costs and development costs are so much higher than they were, and also interest rates are high. But that being said, cap rates are still low, and so buying existing space is more expensive than it was. So I have always preferred buying existing, especially if I can get it in a very distressed situation, right? Like it's almost completely vacant or it's really old and worn down, and just doing renovations. At least in Nashville, getting a renovation permit is a lot easier typically than getting a ground up development permit. We're not having to deal with as much on the regulatory side. So it makes my life a little bit easier. So that's typically what I recommend. Vicken is saying hi, first time live. Vicken, thanks for joining us. We have a lot of fun here on the live streams. You should come back more often. Max is saying, I agree. The best time to invest is when no one else wants the asset, and therefore you can acquire office at a significant discount. Couldn't agree more, right? Like when everybody is afraid of something. Who is it? Warren Buffett that says that? Invest when everybody else is afraid and be afraid when everybody else is investing. It's so true. Like look at Bitcoin, for example, right? A couple of years ago, you had everybody talking about it. It was like, my mom was talking about Bitcoin, right? At that point, it's overinflated. It's not a good market. For all of these people to be talking about Bitcoin, I was like, something's not right here, right? And so I ended up selling off my Bitcoin, and guess what happened? It absolutely crashed. Now, yes, it's come back, but how long is that going to last? We could talk about, Bitcoin all day and the efficacy of it and whether it's actually a good investment, which I don't believe it is. And I don't think it is actually an investment, but, that is what it is. So invest when other people are scared because you're going to be able to get a discount. There's some dude out there that is terrified, that is 100% convinced that office space is never coming back, and he's going to have to sell his building for basically the cost of the land for somebody to come in and do anything with it. And if you are the right investor to take advantage of that situation, you will win big time. Big time. Frank is saying, hi, you mentioned that you were getting your GC a while ago. Is this primarily for the residential projects you were working on, or do you find that it will help in commercial as well? Great question, Frank. So it will be for both. I think, one, it's just good to have the formal education of anything, right? I mean, I'm a big believer that, yeah, you can learn on the job, but sometimes just having the formal sit down, read through a book, have an instructor education is a different beast. And sometimes it's not helpful at all. I mean, I went through a commercial real estate development class after I had already developed my first project, and I was like, this class sucks. I mean, I won't say what class it was here. To be fair, it's been 7 years now. I think that as far as getting my GC and moving forward, I'm tired of dealing with contractors. Most contractors are terrible. They're not good communicators, and they're frankly not good at their job. And you can be not the best at your job if you over communicate about everything and you are good at everything else, right? If you're like, look, yeah, I messed up, I'll admit that, I'll take care of it, fine. Most contractors are not that way. In fact, they mess up and then they try and blame it on you and say it's not their fault. And I mean, it's an absolute nightmare. Trust me, I have hired and fired many contractors in my day. So I'm just getting tired of dealing with it, to be honest with you. The boutique development firm that I worked for when I first got started had its own GC in-house. And while it's not perfect, it's a whole lot better than it is to just hire a third party. I mean, one, think about it. That GC is now in the office every single day having conversations with the project manager, the development team, the leasing team, the sales team, whatever it is. So it just makes the processes a lot easier. And I don't know, just so much better. If you're just tuning in with us now, we're doing a giveaway today. The rules have been pinned in the live chat. Basically, all you have to do is comment or ask a question in the live chat. This only applies to YouTube and Instagram. For whatever reason, those are the only comments in the live chat that I can actually see. Sorry, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. I guess you'll just have to deal with it. Or come join us on YouTube. So, jump in. We've got a whole bunch of really cool prizes that we'll be giving away today. We've got a lot of names in here now, so it's going to take me a minute to add everybody to it, but we'll do it. We'll do it here at the end. AM is saying, what emerging trends or innovations do you foresee shaping the future of industrial and flex commercial real estate over the next decade? So I actually don't feel like the buildings themselves are going to change very much. I really don't. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, flex and industrial is it is what it needs to be right now. Now, I'm not, a super innovative, inventive person when it comes to building design. I think that there is certainly something that could change and maybe it makes it more efficient, whatever. But I think what's going to happen is we're just going to get better tech. Right, we're going to get better at logistically planning out last mile delivery. We're going to get better at making sure that each driver has less downtime. We're going to have, automatically driven, AI driven vehicles, right, that will just be so much more efficient. I think that's where the true innovation is going to come in industrial over the next 10 years. I don't necessarily think that the buildings are going to change. One thing that you could start to see, and we are seeing it now, is multi-story industrial buildings that have some pretty serious freight elevators, because we've been talking about this a little bit already, but most of the flex space has been close to downtown historically, right? For many reasons. It was cheaper, but also the access to the entire city is pretty unparalleled. Problem is there's now higher and better uses. But at what point does it actually make sense to not tear flex space down for an apartment building when you could tear that building down and build a multi-story flex building with a freight elevator? I mean, that could be pretty interesting, right? So there's things like that I think could change, but I don't think that we're going to see anything absolutely crazy. Jorge is saying, good morning, Tyler. Hey, buddy. I just got my first check from cold calling for an investor in Chicago. Thank you for the encouragement and inspiration. Industrial commercial real estate rocks. Jorge, that is awesome, man. Congrats on getting your first commission check. That is killer. Man, not everybody has the guts to go out there and cold call. So kudos to you. It will set you apart, and you will make good money doing it, I promise. So keep up with it. That's awesome to hear, man. Thanks for the update. Jake is saying, what's your advice from making the leap from small residential new construction flips to commercial development? Not seeing the long run momentum in residential, except in maybe land rezoning and development. Jake, it depends. I mean, I actually like the new construction residential arena. We're going to be getting into it here soon. I think that the problem that a lot of people have with new construction residential is that they treat it like a commodity, right? And if you're trying to cut corners, I'm not saying that you're doing this at all. It's just holistically what I see across the market. If you're trying to cut corners and deliver the cheapest house possible in order to just sell it quickly and move on to the next one, it's kind of like what we've been talking about with what's going on with Airbnbs. There's no differentiation. There's nothing that makes your product better than anybody else. You're basically a commodity that's a race to the bottom. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at different neighborhoods within Nashville, saying there's a gap between $1 million and $2 million homes in the 1,800 to 2,200 square foot range. That's a very high price per square foot, but there's nothing that has like the 4,000 square foot finishes in an 1,800 to 2,200 square foot house. So to me, I'm looking at that. And so, I had this thesis, right? So I go out and I check it and I'm like, you know what? There are a couple of comps that are showing this. Like they're getting higher prices per square foot. Their days on market are fewer than anybody else. And they're crushing it. So somebody's also already tested this out. I don't have to be the first one. And here we go. So that's my thought on the residential market. However, getting into commercial real estate, it depends on what you want to do, right? I love neighborhood commercial. I think it's a great sector of the market. I think it will always be strong. And they're also manageable deal sizes, right? There's there's where we all aspire to be, and there's what's actually realistic for us to do right now. And building a 3-tenant strip center is a phenomenal project. It's smaller, it can be very profitable, and it's manageable. It's, and you can always hold on to it for the long run and make some good money on it. So I think keep your eye out there for, any potential projects that you could do that, that are smaller, and just, kind of start to dip your toes into it. Chase Anthony saying, no experience in developing flex space, only experienced in residential construction and flips. Erring on the side of partnering with someone for the first one. Thank you, sir. Absolutely. I think that's the best thing you could do. Go out and find somebody to partner with that has been there, done that. They have the experience. They can hold your hand through the entire process. It'll make your life so much easier, I promise. He's also saying, be greedy when everyone is fearful and fearful when everyone is greedy. Yeah, that might actually be the Warren Buffett quote. Come on. It's a good one. It's very, very true. Peter, great touching base yesterday. Yeah, good to talk to you, Peter. Appreciate you reaching out, man. I have a saying, I never paid too much for a piece of real estate, but the ones I didn't buy cost me a fortune. Is a great saying. It's so true. And I would add to that too. Some of the ones that I didn't buy could have cost me a fortune if I didn't do my due diligence properly. It's funny. Sometimes the deals that you don't buy are the best deals for multiple reasons. One, you're always going to have like rose-colored glasses looking back, being like, oh, I should have bought that. I always thought when I first got into commercial real estate, I was like, I'm never going to sell a property. All of the old guys that I talk to, they always say, I wish I never sold that. But the next question is, okay, but what did you do with the money when you sold that? Oh, okay, you compounded it 10x over the next 10 years because you kept selling properties and 1031 exchanging into something more like better. Kind of hard to argue against that. Yeah, sure, maybe that property is worth a lot more today compared to what you sold it for, but you also had exponential increases in your equity. So it's funny. But yeah, there are some deals that I've passed on where I was just like, man, really should have done it. Really should have done it. There was a house that I almost bought back in 2020. I was about to put it under contract, and then the pandemic hit, and I was already kind of nervous. It was a $650,000 house. I was a single guy at the time. Like, I didn't need a $650,000 house, but it was just an awesome house, and I knew it was going to appreciate. And I got nervous, and I ended up not doing it. And just because of the market. Like, I mean, honestly, I didn't know if I was going to be living on my mom's couch the next day, right? Like commercial real estate gets really weird in down markets like what we saw during COVID. Fortunately, I didn't do that and I didn't have to move in with my mom. So we're all good. But that house today is now worth over $950,000. It's been 4 years. I mean, what the hell? I should have bought the damn house. But I mean, also could not have known that. Real Talk with Gio Seta is saying, am I the best? Does that count? Yeah, you're the best. Appreciate you joining us. Eddie is saying, my contractor has got more expensive, but I know he will get the job done. Happy to pay him and sleep better at night. I mean, there's something to be said about that, in my opinion. Like, if you find a good contractor, oh my gosh, do everything you can to keep them happy. I mean, give them all the business in the world. Don't negotiate their prices. Just make sure, like, if they're that good where you don't have to like worry about if they're doing everything right, I mean, try and buy in and become a partner with them, because they are going to be a very good contractor for the long run. You know, the problem that I've always found with contractors is like the good ones move on so fast that they become their own developers, right? They eventually get to a point where they're like, why would I third party this for other people when I could just start doing it for myself? I mean, it's this never ending cycle. Like every commercial real estate contractor starts out as a tenant improvement, like build out contractor, right? They're going into these retail centers and whatever, and they're building it out for these tenants. Well, that's phenomenal, right? And if they get really good at it, then they're like, well, these are only $100,000 jobs, $200,000 jobs. I want to move into the big things. And then they, get into, ground up new construction and they move on. And then you have to go find another tenant build out contractor again. It's a big, big pain. Ted is saying, good morning. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. Absolutely, Ted. Happy to do it. Dana Sells Nash is saying, is there any state you wouldn't want to pursue an investment in? California, hands down. Hands down, California. Don't even have to think about it. So that's a great question. It's funny, the majority of investors that we represent at our brokerage firm out of California, not a single one of them wants to invest in California. They are all getting out of that space. They're all selling properties in California and getting out. Now, obviously, people are still buying in California, and I get that. But there's multiple things about that market that I don't understand. One, it's overpriced. Like, yeah, the weather's great. The weather's awesome. It's probably the best weather in the United States. You couldn't even argue with it, especially if you're talking about, like the San Diego area. Let's be honest. The weather in San Diego is pretty great. I'm not going to pay 40% in taxes to live in San Diego. It's just not how I want to operate my life. Two, everything is so overpriced. I've got buddies that invest in apartment complexes in LA that are buying at 1% and 2% cap rates. You're not hearing that wrong. 1% and 2% cap rates. That means if they pay all cash, they might get 1% or 2% cash on cash returns. It is horrific, and I would never do that. But they do. They do really well on it. They lose money for like 5 to 7 years, and they flip it to the next guy who loses money for 5 to 7 years, and then he flips it to the next guy. And it always appreciates, but nobody's making any cash flow, and you're really hoping that you're not going to have to sell that in a down market, which, I mean, come on, man. Hope is not an investment thesis, for me at least. Dana's saying, if you weren't in commercial real estate, what would you do? Oh, gosh. I'd probably be in construction. I mean, that's what I was going to do before I got offered a job in commercial real estate. My grandfather owned a construction company. I was working for him as a project manager. I really like building things. I mean, if y'all are following me on Instagram, I just posted, I spent over 20 hours this weekend working on an outdoor cook shack. And, it's basically a 20-foot by 40-foot, 14-foot by 40-foot pavilion, outdoor, pole barn, open-air pole barn. And I built the furniture for it. Like, I just love doing that stuff. So, yeah, I'd probably be in construction. All right, this is probably, we got a lot. Got a lot of questions. When apartment buildings have extra space, they can always build storage units to add revenue. Could you name a few ways of increasing revenue in unique ways for other commercial products? Sell parking spaces, right? You can industrial outdoor storage, pretty much anything. You could always add vending machines. People love vending machines. You could do, like if you're in Texas, covered parking, because it is hot as hell. I mean, come on. I mean, Dallas had like a 30-day run last year where it was like 110 degrees every day, or at least over 100. So if you have, covered parking, you could charge 50 to $100 a month extra for it because people are just willing to do it. Trying to think of what else. I mean, there's so many different ways. Like if you started throwing out certain types of products, I could probably start rattling things off. It's tough for me to just come up with anything off the top of my head, but hopefully those few ways help you. Jeff is saying, got to give yourself grace on those things you simply can't control and shift perspective to anything else that benefits you at any given time. On to the next opportunity with a clear mind. Couldn't agree more, Jeff. All right, Meg has the last comment. So let's see. Good morning. What trends are you seeing in commercial real estate in the next few years? Where would you invest in commercial right now in Nashville? Trends, gosh. I mean, I think commercial real estate is going to continue to move towards more of a node system where you've got the downtown neighborhood. Well, everybody that lives in downtown wants to live, work, and play there. Everybody that lives in East Nashville wants to live, work, and play there. Everybody in Woodruff, Houston, and Bellevue, whatever, they all want to live, work, and play in their neighborhoods. They don't want to have to travel. I mean, Nashville is not alone in the sense that it is a city that has zero transit capabilities, right? So it's just miserable to commute. I think that we're going to continue to see those nodes build out to where, it's kind of like Atlanta. Like if you drive 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, you'll still see towers, right? They just have random, basically like midtowns 30 minutes away. It's kind of wild. If I was going to start investing in commercial real estate in Nashville, I would say, I love East Nashville. I'm so biased, but in my opinion, it is hands down still the most undervalued market in Nashville. I'm a big fan of Madison. I think that Madison is the second most undervalued market in Nashville. Goodlettsville Rivergate is very interesting to me. You'll notice I'm going north. The reason that I'm doing that is everybody and their grandmother has their eyes south of the river, which is downtown, Green Hills, Brentwood, Columbia, like that whole I-65 South corridor. Nobody's paying attention to the north side. And if you think about that, people are willing to pay $500,000 plus to live out in Columbia and commute to Nashville every day. That sounds miserable to me. I could never do that. However, $500,000 would buy you a mansion north of town, and you would have a 20 to 30 minute commute instead, if not less. So that's it. All right, we got to get to the drawing. I know some of y'all are probably anxiously awaiting that. BDubs is saying, what time do you start these broadcasts? I'll tune in. They are 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time every Tuesday. All right. I am going to have to take a couple of minutes to figure out how to copy and paste everybody's names into this picker wheel. This is going to take me a minute. So y'all bear with me while I do this. All right. I'm going to have to get an assistant to help me do this next time. Probably be a lot better to have somebody filling this out as I'm going through it instead of me just having to do this at some point. Let's see. I already got Chase. Yep. Peter. I'm getting y'all in here, I promise. GE is saying, hey, what's up, man? Haven't seen you since commercial real estate school. I am going to drop your name in the chat because I can't tell by your last name or by your screen name who that is. Would love to catch up. I mean, hey, if we went to school together, let's catch up. Cliff, I'm sorry. You're asking me how to find equity partners or debt partners. I am out of time, technically, on this live stream. I'm just going to drop everybody's names in here. So unfortunately, you'll have to drop that in the comment section, and I'll get back to it. All right, let me share my screen. So here we are. Why is it not sharing my screen? There we go. All right. Everybody's name's on there. Let's roll it and see who wins today. Man, that is making a very annoying sound. I hope y'all can't hear that. Oh, looks like it's John. Let's see. That is John Linsky. Talking about wholesaling some residential real estate and wanted to get into it. All right, let's see what he won. Okay, this is... All right, John, let's see what you won, buddy. There you go, man. You got a month of group coaching. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for joining us here on the Office Hours live stream. Let me know if you like doing this giveaway and some of the things that we're giving away. Maybe we can start doing this every week to make it a little more interactive for everyone. John, shoot me a DM on Instagram. It's at Commercial in Nashville. I'll get you hooked up with 1 month of group coaching with my group coaching team, and we'll take it from there. Appreciate you all for joining me. We'll see y'all in the next one. This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by CRE Launch Pro. This online commercial real estate program is designed to take you from beginner to pro commercial real estate investor with access to all of my courses, our online community, and monthly group coaching calls. Learn how to confidently buy your first commercial property today at www.crelaunchpro.com.